From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Thursday, October the 4th, 2018. German Chancellor Angela Merkel concluded her brief Israel visit this evening, meeting again today with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, as well as with Israel's President Reuven Rivlin. She also toured Israel's memorial to the Holocaust, Yad Vashem, where she reaffirmed the everlasting responsibility of Germany to remember this crime and to oppose anti-Semitism, xenophobia, hatred, and violence. Merkel, who was accompanied on this visit by a number of ministers from her parliament, also took part in a special government-to-government meeting dealing with such issues as the Iran deal and the conflict with the Palestinians. This is the seventh so-called G2G meeting between the Israeli and UK parliaments in the last decade. During a joint press conference with Prime Minister Netanyahu later, Merkel said she thought the two-state solution between Israel and the Palestinians was the most sensible solution, but added that the Palestinians had to accept Israel as a Jewish state. She said if there is supposed to be peace, an enduring peace between Israelis and Palestinians, then of course it cannot be that all states say Israel should be a Jewish state with democratic rights for minorities that live here, but the Palestinians don't say it. Regarding the Iran deal, Merkel said she very firmly agrees with Israel on the need to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon. But she said, where we don't always agree is the way to reach this goal. Therefore, she said the discussion will continue. Merkel returns to Berlin tonight. The U.S. government said it was withdrawing from an amendment to the Vienna Convention to keep the Palestinians from suing the U.S. at the International Court of Justice in The Hague. We had reported to you last month that the Palestinians went to the court to ask them to order the U.S. to move its embassy out of Jerusalem. Yesterday, U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton told reporters at the White House,
"The President has decided that the United States will withdraw from the optional protocol on dispute resolution to the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. This is in connection with a case brought by the so-called State of Palestine, naming the United States as a defendant, challenging our move of our embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem."
The optional protocol gives the court jurisdiction to hear disputes under the convention. The U.S., Bolton said, would remain party to the underlying Vienna Treaty. A delegation of members of terror group Hamas concluded its visit to Egypt yesterday. The group, led by Deputy Leader Saleh al-Aruri, has spent about 4 days in Cairo meeting with senior Egyptian intelligence officials to discuss a possible ceasefire deal between the Palestinians and Israel, as well as a possible reconciliation with Fatah, the party of the Palestinian Authority, which controls the West Bank. Well, police in Chicago, together with the FBI, are investigating the murder this week of a kosher supervisor. 24-year-old Eliyahu Moskowitz was shot in the head Monday night in the neighborhood of West Rogers Park. 36 hours earlier, 73-year-old Douglas Watts was shot with the same gun in the same manner and in the same area. The police said the victims were likely chosen at random and that it was too early to say whether the murders were hate crimes, as Moskowitz was an Orthodox Jew and Watts was gay. U.S. President Trump signed the Protecting Religiously Affiliated Institutions Act of 2018 into law this week. The bipartisan legislation was introduced last year by Republican Senator Orrin Hatch, who worked together with Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein to draft the legislation, which unanimously passed the Senate and the House last month. The American Jewish Committee's Associate Executive Director for Policy, Jason Isaacson, said this important law, which provides for new and strengthened measures to deter as well as punish perpetrators of attacks on religious institutions, will provide a much-needed sense of comfort and security. He said the increasing attacks and threats against churches, synagogues, and mosques disgrace our nation's most fundamental values and demand the firm response offered by the new law. 3 Israeli teenagers won gold in Budapest this week. The 15-year-old gymnasts Shai Horesh, Shir Edrei, and Leah Korkus took top honors in the International Acro Cup for trio pyramid acrobatics, beating out teams from China, Russia, and Great Britain, among others. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Thursday, October the 4th at 7 o'clock. We'll replay the speeches delivered last week at the United Nations General Assembly by Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. At 8 o'clock, former commander of British forces in Afghanistan, Colonel Richard Kemp, is honored by the American Jewish Committee. At 9, it's part 2 of Mark Golub's interview with Rabbi Eli Abadi on L'chaim. At 10, the 2018 inductees into the Manhattan Jewish Hall of Fame. And coming up right after this newscast tonight at 6:30, Chloe Simone Valdery, who is Director of Partnerships and Outreach at Jerusalem U, discusses Black Lives Matter and the BDS movement. That's on tonight's In the News at 6:30. And that's the JBS News Update for Thursday, October the 4th, 2018. I'm Teisha Bader.